5 years ago, my sister told my parents I dropped out of medical school. She lied. That single lie cost me everything. My parents cut me off, blocked my number, skipped my residency graduation, and weren't at my wedding. For 5 years, I was no one's daughter. Then last month, my sister was rushed into the emergency room, bleeding, unconscious, dying. The trauma team paged the chief surgeon. The doors opened. And when my mother saw the name on the white coat walking toward her daughter's stretcher, she grabbed my father's arm so hard it left bruises. My name is Dr. Irene Willette. I'm 32 years old. And this is the story of the night 5 years of lies collapsed in a hospital waiting room. Before we continue, subscribe if this story reaches you, and drop your location in the comments. I want to know where you're watching from. Growing up in Hartford, Connecticut, there were 2 daughters in the Willette house. But only one who mattered. My sister Monica, 3 years older, came out of the womb performing school plays, student council, the girl who could charm any adult at any dinner party. My parents adored her for it. I was the quiet one. Nose in a biology textbook at Thanksgiving while Monica held court at the table. I wasn't rebellious. I wasn't difficult. I was simply invisible. Here's a small example. 8th grade, I made it to the state science fair, the only kid from our school. That same weekend, Monica had a community theater performance. One guess where my parents went. When I came home with 2nd place, Dad glanced at my ribbon and said, "That's nice, Rennie." He never asked what my project was about. He never did. So I poured everything into my grades, my AP classes, my applications. I figured if I couldn't be the daughter they noticed, I'd be the daughter they couldn't ignore, and for one brief moment, I was. The day I got accepted into Oregon Health and Science University's medical program, something shifted. Dad read the letter at the kitchen table, looked up slowly, and said, "Maybe you'll make something of yourself after all, Rennie." It wasn't a compliment. Not really. But it was the closest thing to one I'd ever gotten from him. Mom called every aunt and every neighbor that night. Her voice had a pitch I'd never heard before, pride, genuine undiluted pride, directed at me. I glanced across the table at Monica. She was smiling. But it was the kind of smile that stops at the mouth. Her eyes were doing something else entirely. Calculating. Measuring. Recalibrating. I didn't see it then. I thought my sister was just tired from the drive. 3rd year of medical school, my best friend was Sarah Mitchell. She'd grown up in foster care, no family, no support system, and she was the single reason I survived 1st year. In August of my 3rd year, Sarah was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. No family. No one. Just me. I went to the dean's office the next morning, explained the situation, and he approved a formal leave of absence, 1 semester, caregiver status, paperwork filed, spot held. Everything documented. Everything legitimate. I would return in January. I moved into Sarah's apartment. Drove her to chemo. Held her hand in the oncology ward at 3 in the morning when the pain got so bad she couldn't breathe. I called Monica to tell her. I don't know why. Maybe I still believed she was the sister she'd been pretending to be. Monica's voice was syrup. "Oh my God, Rennie. I'm so sorry. Take all the time you need. I won't say a word to Mom and Dad, I know they just worry." 3 days later, she called our parents. The call came at 11 at night. I was sitting in a plastic chair next to Sarah's hospital bed. My phone lit up. Dad. His voice was flat and arctic. "Your sister told us everything." I said, "Dad, that's not," he cut me off. "Monica showed us the messages. She showed us proof." I pressed my hand against the wall to steady myself. "Dad, I'm sitting in a hospital right now. I'm taking care of my friend. I filed a leave of absence. I can give you the dean's number. He said, Monica said you'd have a story ready. Then Mom got on the line, her voice shaking. How could you lie to us for a whole year, Irene? I said, Mom, please listen to me, and Dad said, enough. Don't call this house until you're ready to tell the truth. The line went dead. I sat on that hospital floor for 20 minutes. Sarah's phone beeped on the other side of the curtain. My phone still showed the call duration. 4 minutes and 12 seconds. That's how long it took my parents to erase me. Then a text from Monica arrived. I'm sorry, Rennie. I had to tell them. I couldn't keep your secret anymore. Broken heart emoji. She wasn't sorry. She had just executed the most precise strike of her life. I tried everything. 14 calls in 5 days. Dad's number blocked by the 4th call. Mom blocked me 2 days later. 2 emails with my leave of absence paperwork attached, the dean's direct number included. No response. 1 handwritten letter, mailed priority. It came back 5 days later, returned to sender, unopened. I recognized my mother's handwriting on the envelope. I asked Aunt Ruth to intervene. Dad told her to stay out of it and hung up. Every single attempt, rejected, blocked, or returned. Sarah died on a Sunday morning in December. Quiet. Just the monitor going flat and pale winter light through the hospice window. I was the only one in the room. 6 people came to the funeral. I stood at the front of a chapel that could hold 60 and read a eulogy to rows of empty pews. That night, I found a card tucked inside Sarah's copy of Grey's Anatomy. Her handwriting, shaky but deliberate. Finish what you started, Irene. Become the doctor I know you are. And don't you dare let anyone, especially your own blood, tell you who you are. She had written it weeks before she died. She knew she wouldn't be there when I needed the push. I opened the re-enrollment form. 2 options, crumble or climb. I chose to climb. Not for my parents. Not for revenge. For Sarah, and for the version of myself she believed in. I graduated on time. No one from Hartford came. I matched into a surgical residency at Mercy Rest Medical Center, a level 1 trauma center, one of the busiest in Connecticut. I got married on a Saturday afternoon in my mentor's backyard. 30 guests. Nathan's father walked me down the aisle. I had sent an invitation to Hartford. It came back the way my letter had, unopened. 5 years passed. I became someone they wouldn't recognize. January. 3:07 in the morning. The pager dragged me out of dead sleep. Level 1 trauma. Motor vehicle collision, single female, 35. Blunt abdominal trauma. Hemodynamically unstable. ETA 8 minutes. I was dressed in 4 minutes and driving in 6. I picked up the intake tablet at the nurse's station and swiped to the incoming patient chart. Patient, Monica Woolette. Date of birth, March 14, 1990. Emergency contact, Gerald Woolette, father. I stopped walking. The hallway noise, the beeping, the intercom, the squeak of shoes on linoleum, it all pulled back like a tide. For 2 seconds, maybe 3, I wasn't a surgeon. I was a 26-year-old sitting on a hospital floor in Portland, phone still warm in my hand, listening to a dial tone. My charge nurse Linda appeared at my shoulder. You okay? I looked up, blinked, and said, Prep Bay 2. Page Dr. Patel. I want him on standby. The ambulance siren wailed outside, getting closer. And behind that ambulance, I knew before I could see them, were 2 people I hadn't faced in 5 years. The stretcher came fast. Monica, strapped down, unconscious, oxygen mask fogging with shallow breaths, blood on her shirt, one hand hanging limp off the side rail. Behind her, running, came my parents. Mom in a bathrobe, slippers on the wrong feet, hair thinner, face drawn. Dad in flannel and jeans thrown on in a panic, his face the color of old paper. "That's my daughter," he shouted. "I need to speak to the doctor in charge." Linda put both hands up. "Sir, the chief is already handling this personally." Dad grabbed her arm. "Get me the chief, now." Linda glanced through the glass partition toward the trauma bay, toward me, gowned, gloved, badge hanging from my scrub top. She read the name. Her eyes went wide for just a fraction of a second. I gave a small shake of my head. "Not now." Before entering the OR, I paged Dr. Patel directly. "I have a conflict of interest. The patient is a family member. I'm disclosing it now and documenting in the chart. If at any point my judgment is compromised, you take the lead. No questions asked. Everything by the book. Everything on paper." Then I pulled on fresh gloves, pushed through the OR doors, and looked down at the table. My sister's face, still bruised, the oxygen mask fogging and clearing. She looked smaller than I remembered. For 3 seconds, she wasn't the woman who destroyed my life. She was a body on my table. And that was exactly how I needed her to be. "Let's go." Scalpel. 3 hours and 40 minutes. That's how long it took. Ruptured spleen, removed. Grade 3 liver laceration, repaired with precision sutures, layer by painstaking layer. Internal bleeding from 2 separate vessels, clamped, cauterized, controlled. My hands moved the way they'd been trained to move. Steady. Deliberate. At 6:48 in the morning, I placed the final closing stitch. Monica's vitals were stable. She was alive. Dr. Patel pulled down his mask and said quietly, "Irene, that was flawless. You want me to talk to the family?" I peeled off my gloves. "No. This one's mine." The hallway had never felt so long. My parents sat in the center of the waiting room, rigid, sleepless, terrified. I pushed through the double doors, still in surgical scrubs, mask pulled down, badge hanging at chest level printed in clean block letters that anyone could read from 6 feet away. Dr. Irene Willett, MD, FACS, Chief of Trauma Surgery. Dad stood first. He always stood first. "Doctor, how is she?" "Is Monica?" He stopped. His eyes dropped to my badge, rose to my face, then dropped to the badge again. I watched the recognition move through him like something physical, a tremor that started in his hands and climbed to his jaw. Mom looked up half a second later. Her lips parted. No sound came out. Her hand shot to Dad's arm, fingers digging in with a force that would later leave 4 bruises shaped like fingertips. 5 seconds of silence. 5 seconds that held 5 years. I spoke first, calm, clinical, the same voice I use with every family in that room. "Mr. and Mrs. Willett, I'm Dr. Willett, Chief of Trauma Surgery. Your daughter Monica sustained a ruptured spleen and a grade 3 liver laceration in the accident. Surgery was successful. She's stable and currently in the ICU. You'll be able to see her in approximately 1 hour. Mr. and Mrs., not Mom and Dad." I watched that land. I watched it cut. Mom moved first. She took a step toward me, arms lifting, a sob already breaking through her chest. "Irene. Oh my God. Oh my God, Irene." I stepped back, half a step, polite but unmistakable. She froze. Her hands hung in the air between us, then slowly, painfully, dropped to her sides. Dad's voice came out like gravel dragged over concrete. "You're a doctor." I said, "I am." He said, "You're the chief." I said, I am. He said, but Monica said, and I asked, what exactly did Monica say? He closed his mouth. Opened it. Closed it again. I kept my voice level. She told you I dropped out. That I had a boyfriend with a drug problem. That I was homeless. That I refused to contact you. None of it was true. Not a single word. Then Linda appeared, routine hospital business, completely unaware of what she was about to do. Dr. Willett, I'm sorry to interrupt. The Physician of the Year Selection Committee sends their congratulations on tonight's surgical outcome. She left. Mom stared at me, eyes swollen, bathrobe still on. Physician of the Year, she whispered. Then, very quietly, Jerry. What have we done? And my father, for the first time in my life, said nothing. Because silence, for once, was the only honest thing he had left. Aunt Ruth walked into the ICU at 9:45 that morning. She didn't sit down, didn't hug anyone. She stood in the middle of that room and said, I've been waiting 5 years to have this conversation. And I'm not waiting one more minute. She pulled out her phone and opened a folder she'd labeled Irene Proof. Screenshots of every email I'd sent in those first desperate days. My leave of absence paperwork signed by the dean and stamped with the registrar's seal. A photo of my residency graduation, me in a cap, diploma in hand, Aunt Ruth beside me, the only family member in the frame. She held the phone out and Mom took it with trembling hands. And here, Ruth said, swiping to a text thread. This is from Monica, sent to me 4 years ago. She read it aloud. Don't tell Mom and Dad about Irene's residency. It'll just confuse them. They're finally at peace. The room went absolutely still. The calculation was gone from her eyes. What replaced it was the look of someone who has run out of rooms to hide in. Ruth turned to my parents. You let this happen, not because you didn't love Irene, but because loving Monica was easier. Nobody argued. There was nothing left to argue with. Mom sank into the chair and began scrolling through Ruth's phone, reading my emails one by one. She stopped on the last one, the one I sent the night before my residency graduation. She read it silently, lips moving. Then she doubled over in the chair. Not crying, beyond that. It was the sound of someone meeting the full weight of a mistake they can never undo. Dad stood at the window, back to the room, shoulders shaking. Aunt Ruth told me later it was the first time in 62 years she had ever seen her brother cry. Not at their mother's funeral. Not ever. He cried now, silently, facing the parking lot, while the monitor beeped behind him. Ruth's voice dropped to a whisper. You missed her wedding, Jerry. Nathan's father walked her down the aisle. Do you understand what that means? Dad didn't turn from the window. 4 words. Low. Cracked down the center. What have we done? Not a question. He was convicting himself. I came back that afternoon, end of my shift, 22 hours since the pager woke me. My parents were still there. Mom stood the second I walked in. Irene, baby, I'm so sorry, I held up my hand, gently but firm. I hear you. And I believe you're sorry. But sorry is a word. It's a starting place, not a finish line. What I need is time. Dad turned from the window. We want to make this right. I kept my voice even, no anger, just clarity. The kind that only comes after you've burned through every other emotion and what's left is the truth. I'm not the girl you sent away. I'm not the girl who begged you to listen from 3,000 miles away. I'm someone who built a life, a whole life, without you. And if you want to be part of it now, it will be on my terms. Not Monica's. Not yours. Mine. Dad opened his mouth, old reflex, then closed it. And nodded. A small, devastated nod. I didn't get revenge on my sister. I didn't need revenge. I became someone who didn't need it. And that turned out to be the most devastating response of all. Not a scheme, not a plan, just a life, lived fully, on my own terms. If you're waiting for your family to see you, really see you, stop waiting. See yourself first. Build the life you deserve with the people who show up. And when the others finally turn around, let them find a door that you control. You decide when it opens. You decide how wide. You decide who walks through. That's not revenge. That's architecture. Thank you for watching. If this story reached you, subscribe and leave a comment. Have you ever had to rebuild your life after your own family chose to believe a lie over you? I read every single one. Until next time.